Welcome to Dead End Hip Hop. We are a YouTube channel, obviously, because we're on YouTube, but we review hip hop culture. Not only do we talk about the music, but we actually talk about hip hop culture, things that are happening in the culture. But we keep it honest. Our motto is no politics, no BS. So if you like what you see now, make sure you go over to our channel and subscribe. I guarantee you're gonna like it.
I guarantee you're gonna like it. I guarantee. Who said that?
I don't remember. It was like a food commercial.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
So obviously we're a hip hop channel, and we know about the popularity of hip hop and how hip hop seems to be everywhere. But EDM is like right behind it. What we're here to talk about today is whether or not hip hop and EDM has passed rock and roll as the cultural zeitgeist. Like, you know, what are your initial thoughts on just hip hop and EDM's popularity and where it stands today in today's world?
Yeah, hip hop has definitely gotten popular over the decades. Just for me personally, I've noticed in video games. Back in the day, you used to hear rock music. You know, like when the
Street Fighter and stuff.
Yeah, when the graphics started getting more advanced. I mean, I'm not going to like Nintendo and stuff because you know how that music sounds. But like when the graphics started getting advanced and the music that was in there, incorporated in there, was always rock music. Then all of a sudden, it started being all hip hop music. Like at this point, like maybe some video games here and there might have some different type of music, but. I've started seeing the video games first. Was like, damn.
Grand Theft Auto,
yeah.
A lot of the sports games,
yes,
even car games too.
Yeah. I'm like, Gran Turismo. I'm like, man, like I'm hearing hip hop artists on here, and I'm like, that's crazy. So, just in the late '90s, from the mid to late '90s to now, I just see how hip hop has like just culture-wise has got into video games, even at E3.
What about EDM? Because according to a report I saw on Google, that there's been 175% rise of EDM music on gaming consoles too. Have you noticed that at all? Or maybe it's just the games you're playing?
Yeah, it's just probably just the games that I'm playing. I'm hearing hip hop all over them now. It's crazy.
Remember when we did the interview with Alchemist? How what was the video game he was working on? I can't remember the video game.
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto.
He was part of the soundtrack.
Yeah, he was part of the soundtrack, and they wanted original music.
Yeah.
So it's even taking a step above. We're not just gonna take what's hot out here. We want you to craft something directly for this particular video game and this cityscape that they're creating. So I think that's definitely interesting. And for me, hell yeah, hip hop has overtaken other musical genres as the pop culture leader, because hip hop sets the most trends. Hip hop is what makes certain things cool. And I'm not saying that EDM and rock still don't have that type of influence. I think all musical genres have influence in the world, but the number one by far is hip hop. How we dress, how we talk, what we drink, what we eat, what we're doing, like it's 90% hip hop. I definitely think we've overtaken all of the other musical genres.
I agree with you 100%. I don't really see it with EDM. I think when it comes to being cultural influencers, I don't know that EDM really fits. Because how many of them are really influencing culture? It's just party music. And people like to party.
Of course.
So that, in that aspect, it fits. But when you look at hip hop as a whole and how it's influenced, like when you were talking about video games, I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. And I was thinking skate videos. I remember when I was younger, it was all punk rock and some metal. And then I remember there was just a big shift, and all of a sudden it was all hip hop. And I think that now you're totally correct. It's like hip hop controls so many aspects of society at this point. It's funny how even just when you talk about vernacular, like the way we used to say certain things, that's rad, that's not, now it's that's dope, that's lit, and when you start seeing those words being used by people who aren't even really within hip hop culture, you just can't escape it. Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. The news anchors, when they're saying that kind of shit, when you have WSB, and what's the one in Atlanta that was given the props to Prodigy when he passed?
Yeah, that's
WSB, right?
Yeah,
like
Fred Blankenship.
Right. They didn't do that when like Joe Crocker, he passed away recently, and they didn't do that for a lot of these rock legends. It's just interesting to me how big hip hop is now.
Yeah, because they did it for Tribe too, right?
They
For
did
Fife.
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 It was called
Yeah.
Fife. And on Biggie's birthday or March 9th, they was quoting Biggie lyrics. Tupac birthday, they was quoting Tupac lyrics. Like I'm like,
And,
that's
and
crazy.
just think about Stuart Scott, right? Like he brought that to ESPN.
He really did.
Because if you look at ESPN prior to Stuart
They
Scott,
were so
very buttoned up,
just-
suit
serious.
tie.
Yeah.
It was very news-like.
Yeah.
But when Stuart Scott came in there, he was like, yeah,
He everyone
everything cooler than the other side of the pillow. He started making rhymes with his stuff. He just made it cool.
He made it cool.
And then I put it to you like this: if there was no Stuart Scott, ESPN wouldn't be where they are right now because everybody.
He brought in more of a urban
He did.
demographic.
And everybody now has to incorporate that. And if you don't incorporate urban vernacular, if you don't incorporate hip hop into who you are as an ESPN analyst,
Then you're just not.
you're not gonna get hired.
I'm moving past ESPN.
Okay.
Like in pretty much anything. Like if you're trying to start a talk show or anything like that, if you're not incorporating some element of urban hip hop culture, I really don't think you're gonna make it. Like remember when Rock of Love came out? Like exactly.
Come out with
That was Bret Michaels.
Brent Michael. Yeah. I remember.
Right.
I remember it, but
And
yeah.
it seemed like that was their last ditch effort to keep rock and roll, heavy metal in the public eye. And once that failed, it was pretty much a wrap. Now every single reality show has some element of hip hop culture. Even when you're talking about something like Real Housewives of who the fuck ever, there's some element of hip hop. And if they have some kind of lineage to some rock person, doesn't seem like anybody cares.
What was the show that had the family with the guy? It was him, his
Talking
wife,
about the Osbournes?
The Osbournes,
yeah.
You know, because that was big at one point.
Oh,
and
that
fell
was.
away.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I just wanted to
But
bring.
it's all gone now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because those
Yeah.
kind of people aren't popular anymore.
Right.
So what the fuck happened?
Hip hop just became the dominant culture.
Right.
Why would rock fall off the way that? Because rock was extremely huge. So what happened to the popularity of rock over the years?
I think that it stopped being edgy, so it stopped being sexy.
Okay.
So I think when it comes to these type of situations, like the way all of these things become dominant culture is these smaller cultures. They find them and there's like like an element of rebellion there that's really attractive. So when we were younger, they were really attracted to like the metal because it was like these bad boys and they're doing drugs and they're fucking all these women.
Got tattoos.
You know, they got tattoos, all this shit. Then it was, you know, the punk stuff became really popular because it was rebellious. Then hip hop kind of moved in there because they saw an element of edge. They saw rebellion in that. And with every single one of those, at some point, those move into the mainstream because these bigger companies, they see this edginess and this rebellion and this whole thing is just really sexy. But then something always comes along after it and moves in and says, no, this is where the edge is. This is where the rebellion is. It's just with hip hop, it hasn't gone away. It's been around for like, what, 20 something years now. It had a slump, but then it came right back. And that's what's so interesting about how hip hop has moved into being the dominant culture. Is it started off where I think a lot of these, I don't want to say rich kids, but these more well-to-do people, they saw this rebellion. They're like, I want to be a part of that. And that's what happens with all these cultures.
Because it always starts with the youth. Right?
Exactly.
And then it kind of just recycles. At one point in time, we were that youth that pushed hip hop forward. But now we have the little Uzi Verts, little Yachties and stuff like that we may not like. But guess what? They're pushing the culture forward, whether we like it or not, with their perspective demographic, right? So, and they have a certain level of edge. Because now that we're the old heads, we're kind of talking down to them and what's this and this, that, and the third. So it's always like a revolving cycle of edginess and it's always being pushed forward.
If you really think about it, hip hop is still that music that is not accepted by the previous generations. Like in our day, when you think about our parents, or no, our parents' parents, when rock and roll was coming around, they was like, this isn't music. I don't want to hear this shit. This is not Elvis. This is not Little Richard. I don't want to hear this shit. At some point, that became accepted. Then you had metal. Oh, this isn't music. I don't want to hear this. This is not accepted. At some point, that was just, and I ain't talking about like death metal. I'm talking about like heavy metal,
Yeah,
Motley Crue, that kind of shit.
Yeah, gotcha.
At some point, that became accepted. Even punk rock became mainstream and accepted. Hip hop has still not gotten there. When you approach your average parent, they're still gonna say, I don't understand this music. It's still a kid's game. It hasn't moved away from that yet. All those other genres have moved past that. Metal has moved past that. Rock has moved past that. Punk has moved past that.
But hip hop is
still,
young man's game.
and as long as it is appealing to the youth, it's going to be the most dominant culture.
What about EDM though? Like
You keep trying,
Keep trying to bring it.
because it's extremely
numbers, based off
popular.
numbers.
Like this, EDM just took off, right? You can there are numbers to back it. Like, and we went to a concert here where it was pretty much EDM heavy, you know, and Atmosphere was gonna come play, right?
I think they didn't end up playing.
Something happened to
it rained.
Yeah, it rained, so they didn't come out. And then after that, there were more and more and more of these EDM type concerts popped up. So if hip hop is edgy, right, and that's the appeal to a lot of the young kids, what's EDM story?
Drugs and dancing and having a good time.
EDM, is it popular here or is it really popular overseas?
It's popular here too.
It's popular here too. Yeah, because when I think EDM, I'm thinking like over like London and stuff like.
It's more popular there, I'm sure,
Okay,
but
okay.
I just don't think that they're cultural influencers
Yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah.
I think it's just popular music. Because you don't ever, here's the thing, it's like you don't ever see EDM DJs on MTV giving these in-depth interviews.
Right.
Now I'm sure people are going, oh, I saw DJ Scratch and Sniff on blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm sure there are anomalies, but on average, you don't see a lot of these guys.
Sometimes it seems like the DJs are more popular.
Well, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. Like, so is EDM just focused on the DJ because is there actual EDM artists?
I mean,
The EDM artist is the DJ.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what it is. So,
Yeah, and they'll just
So that's
go
a
and-
big difference between like somebody that you can really attach yourself
Right.
to with lyrics and all
Right.
that versus just a very
but hip
similar
hop kind of
sound
started out
throughout.
with the DJ too.
No, of course, but there was
Yeah,
always
but
an
you're talking
aspect
about
of the artist.
yeah,
There was
yeah.
always an aspect of the artist, right? And the
Yeah.
DJ was bigger than the artist way back when it
But this
started.
could happen with
it was
EDM,
party.
right?
Because it was
party.
because with EDM artists, typically it's not. I mean, and I don't listen to a lot of EDM
Right.
shit. From what I know of it, it seems like they just tend to get people to just sing over these beats.
Until the EDM DJ could be a DJ Mustard or a Dr. Dre or somebody like that we also see the visual, I don't know if they can break.
And some of these guys are though. Some of these guys are
to
like
that level,
really popular, dog. They
Like
get
Skrillex-
like
Skrillex
a
EDM
lot of fucking.
Skrillex did not influence culture. Dead Mouse doesn't influence culture.
Okay.
Yes, they're popular.
I'm just asking. I have no clue.
yeah, of course they have major followings. I'm not taking that away. Like if we're talking about following, yes, there's a whole bunch of EDM guys that are as big or bigger than a lot of hip hop guys.
Sure.
But if we're talking about influential, we're talking about moving a needle one way or the other. In terms of what are we gonna wear now? Are we gonna go back to baggy jeans? Are we gonna go to skinnier jeans? Are we gonna go from Jordans to Chucks? Like EDM doesn't move that needle. Hip hop is moving that needle, and hip hop it's crazy because it started with Run DMC with My Adidas, like that.
Like it's
really-
crazy how the kids are wearing Vans now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that was really like a Cali thing, and now it's everywhere.
It's
It's
everywhere.
like, wow.
Yeah.
That was strictly a Cali thing.
Rock was really that cultural influencer, and we took that away from rock because you hear a whole bunch of hip hop artists. Oh, I'm a rock star. I'm this. I'm that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's so we took that from rock, and then we just fucking blew it up even more.
Just flipped it, kind
You
of.
know what? That's a good point. Because when you really think about it, like for a while, rock was pop. It was synonymous.
Yeah.
It's not
It was
anymore.
not anymore.
Because when you look at it, people will say, "Oh, well, that's not hip hop, that's pop." Someone like a Kanye sometimes, depending on
Or
who you're
Drake.
talking to. Drake, perfect example. Thank you. Perfect example. Drake. That's not hip hop, that's pop. You don't hear that with rock anymore. Nickelback can come out with a new jam, and nobody's gonna be like, "That's not rock, that's pop." Nobody says that, but they did back in the day. Like when Korn, I never liked
you
Korn,
just
just to be on the.
yeah.
When Korn came out, I remember people were like, "Oh man, this is awesome. This is metal, blah blah blah." And I remember a lot of us were like, "That shit ain't fucking metal. That's pop," because it was played on the radio.
Has rock gotten old then?
It's aged. I
Yes.
guess. Like,
It's a lot like baseball.
Yes, I think that the youth side of rock in general has now just kind of moved into what they think is metal. And I know that sounds really dismissive, but you know, they listen to a lot of more aggressive and extreme music. That's what's sexy to these type of young people. But you even see hip hop influenced in that. These motherfuckers are putting out songs and getting rap, or not even getting rappers. These motherfuckers are rapping. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
I remember growing up, going to high school, and there were black people like listening to, you know, rock and pop and this, that, and the other.
I've said this a million times on this show. When I was younger, it was not cool to be weird. And being weird was a black person listening to something outside of his culture. It was a lot easier for a white kid to pass off listening to hip hop than it was for a black kid to be. And the reason is because if you think of the Roots Rebellion side of rock was pretty much long gone by that point. The Roots Rebellion part of hip hop, it's diminishing. It's going away a little bit, but it's not gone. Hip hop was born out of that, and it's an element of that is still there. So it's hard to separate those two things. You know, you can't really separate black culture from hip hop. You can kind of, at this point, you can kind of separate. Well, this is not just white boy music anymore. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. Because you know, sometimes when I'm hearing people, what you listen to when you grow up, and then they start naming all these people, and then it's just name dropping, right? And I'm like, oh, you know, not that I'll discredit them, but it's like, I don't know about that. Like, you just want to sound cool.
Yeah.
So with that said, like, why is it there are many black rock artists then?
Great point. Why isn't there? I've always said, like, when I was younger, and I know I've put videos up about this before, and for some reason commenters get upset about this, but I always say, like, I liked a lot of white bands, but a lot of the ones that were really exciting to me were the black groups. I always say, like, when I was younger and I was listening to certain bands, while I enjoyed it, I felt weird as fuck. Because a lot of kids didn't understand. They were just like, what the fuck? Why are you listening to this white boy shit? So when there were black bands, I got so fucking excited because it made me feel less weird.
Right.
So when I found Living Color, you know what I'm saying? When I found Fishbone, when I found Bad Brains, when I found King's X, you know, when Body Count came around, like, these were seminal bands for weird kids like me who just didn't feel comfortable. I feel like there are still not a lot of black rock bands because our numbers aren't up. I mean, that's really what it is. Our numbers just aren't up.
When you say our numbers,
cultures.
oh, okay, in cultures.
And like, especially like with metal and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, there are a lot of black people that like that kind of shit, but our numbers aren't up to be running around starting all these bands. It's still not accepted with black people for that to happen. When we as a culture start being like, well, shit, I don't give a fuck what you listen to. Oh, you like metal? Cool. You like punk rock? Hell yeah. When that happens, then that's gonna change.
Aren't we coming out of that though?
Yeah, we're a lot more open-minded now.
Trying.
It's
but it's
more
not there.
acceptable. We kind of slightly touched on that. It's more acceptable, but like Mike said, until no.
It has to be fully embraced by black culture in order for that to completely go away.
Yeah.
And it's not there yet. And if you think about it, that could be why rock kind of faded away. And and hip hop moved in and just took it. If you think, like, if we had embraced rock and roll, and if black youth had embraced rock and roll, would things have been a little bit different? Who knows?
First and foremost, I just want to say I'm glad that I have other people to bounce these ideas off of, because if I would have just read this question, I'd been like, yeah, hip hop's the most dominant culture. Like, I wouldn't really have much to, like, discuss. But that's why I like being on this show, because it's 4.5 guys that always talk shit. I always call him the Hive. Don't nobody know his face like that.
You got the damn face right now.
got the Kendrick Lamar album coming on. It's always good because somebody is always gonna make a point that you're like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. And this conversation is the prime example. So if you like this conversation and you want to see more conversations like it, like everybody else has already said, go and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. And we do album reviews the same type of way. It's a discussion, you know what I'm saying? It's 4.5 guys with an opinion that we're just gonna go back and forth. Sometimes we love something, sometimes we don't, but there's always going to be this right here. So definitely, if you like this, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dead End Hip Hop. Also go check out our podcast, Is the Myke Still On? We also do a sports show with me, Ken, and also B, and another guy, our host, 12 Ka.
Another Dead End Hip Hop affiliate.
Yeah, a couple of Dead End Hip Hop affiliates, 12 Ka and also Q. But definitely go check out all our stuff. I'm pretty sure if you enjoyed this, you will enjoy the rest of our content.
Shout out to Ain't Fernie Faintana, Needle Drop, for having us on here. We greatly appreciate it, homie.
Right. Where the freak is at?